This is Kate Baconsale. You're listening to Baconsale.
The wolf thought to himself, "What a tender young creature. What a nice plump mouthful." That was an excerpt from Kent Dunn's journal. No, sorry. Probably the Brothers Grimm in 1812. Probably. Maybe Kent Dunn. Who knows?
That's always a question I ask myself. Is it the Brothers Grimm saying it or Kent Dunn?
Always.
Yeah. Hey, welcome to Baconsale. I'm Joel.
I'm Kent. And I'm Zack.
We'd like to thank you for listening to our last show, our fictional teacher show, which was...
What a fun, weird time.
I say fictional teacher. Some of them weren't fictional. It was just fictional
They were based
portrayals
on
of
real people.
people. Yeah.
But yeah, we would like to thank, once again, teachers in the world. Not only for listening to that episode, but for being teachers. Like we, especially in this past, 2 years, which have been pretty horrible, we truly, truly appreciate you for what you do.
Wow, why didn't you say that during the show?
I don't know. I actually thought about it. I'm like, why didn't I think teachers? They're a real thing.
Why didn't we?
Why did we take a moment to name those teachers that made a difference in our life? I remember thinking that. I was listening to the episode saying, Joel, just say Mr. Pusey's name. Just say it.
Oh, now you do?
Now
What'd you do in that show?
He's not listening to this episode. He only listened to the last one, probably.
So Shelly Pants on Instagram says, "Guys, this couldn't have been more appropriate today. I'm a kindergarten teacher, and today was the first day of school. Thanks for giving me the perfect way to unwind after all the craziness.
Thank you for being a teacher."
Yes.
Warm fuzzies.
And then it's kind of fun. Shane Hyatt on Facebook said, "I had a chemistry teacher that showed us in person how dangerous nitroglycerin is. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
He also caught his tie on fire."
That's awesome.
That's pretty great. We all would have liked that.
Coach Harris, he did all sorts of crazy stuff.
No more teacher names.
He was the one that laid on a bed of nails and walked on glass and breathed in the hydrofluoric floxide.
Extracurricular activities.
Well, it makes you sound deep instead of... It's opposite of helium.
I saw my first grade teacher earlier this year at work.
Really?
It was bizarre. I was like, "You told me I knew how to read okay."
Okay.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
And then finally, I would just like to pat myself on the back and say, "It's okay, buddy. Homer Simpson can't pronounce her name either." Thank you, the listener, Spencer, who shared a clip of The Simpsons on Twitter.
Homer Simpson, one of the bigger buffoons in TV history.
Who was calling her Crandall the whole time.
Yeah, it wasn't like he was mispronouncing her name. He just didn't know her name.
I didn't either. Thank you, Spencer, for sharing that on Twitter.
This whole time I've been calling her Crandall.
He was so embarrassed.
Yes. Thank you, listener.
Thank you.
We
It was a fun
appreciate
show.
your comments.
It was
We always
bizarre.
love hearing from you.
And let us know how you felt about the length. It was kind of a shorter episode.
No,
Do you
that's
want more of
what
those?
they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be around an hour.
Never going to happen again.
We've consistently gone that very short. Let's make it this one.
No.
Because, I don't know how short it's going to be because we have a guest.
Yes, we do.
Here in the Bacon Cave.
Boo, boo, boo.
We'd like to welcome Jessica Terry, a member of the Bacon Council, to the Bacon Cave.
Hello. Hi, guys.
Hey, Jessica.
Hi.
She holds the distinction of having the tallest hair in the room, and I'm pretty upset about
The
it.
tallest hair.
Yep.
Prettiest
hair.
one in the room.
Yep.
Or
By
tallest
far.
hair.
Not even close. Although
thank you.
Kent's looking good.
Highest
But, yeah.
highest voice in the room. I'll give her that as well.
Sure.
True.
But
I cracked my voice.
Jessica, why don't you tell us a little about yourself and the listener a little about yourself?
I am originally from California. Moved up to Idaho with my family when I was about 9, and I have lived in Utah for the last 15 years.
Nice. And I was going to say, Baconsale, you've been listening a while now.
I have been a fan since day one.
Wow.
Yep.
Day one.
Since
Yeah.
the Unblockable
Do you
Kid.
have a favorite type of show?
Oh, man. I pretty much love them all.
Oh, stop it.
I do. I do.
You're
I like the
already
variety.
here. You got the invite.
It's true. I do love the variety, though.
Yeah, I was going to say, any particular shows that pop to mind of ones that you would recommend to others that you enjoy yourself?
Oh, man, so many. I love the Disney ones, but I usually do go back to the Halloween ones.
Yeah?
Nice.
I have a list that I keep of all of my favorite episodes, and it's almost every single episode. And if I'm caught up on all the episodes and I kind of have some downtime at work, or I can do something monotonous at work and I can listen, I just pull up that list and say, how do I feel right now? And
Dark.
The Pyramid of Fear. Those ones
Oh,
are
yeah.
definitely
The
awesome.
pyramid.
The
Yeah.
pyramid, yes.
That's trademarked, I
I
think.
do. I do love those
Yeah.
ones. Those
What
are so
other
much fun.
What other nice things about you guys are you going to make her say?
We do that with all the
Do you
guests.
like my haircut?
I do. It looks nice.
Thank you.
Tell me you like my
Exactly.
hat. No, but also speaking of things we do with
It is
guests,
your first time on the show.
Sure.
first
It
time on the
is.
show, and so we have a series of questions for you, Jessica.
I'm excited.
Now,
Did you
these-
plan for these?
I did.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
she knows they're coming.
I did some research.
So we
I'm
have
so
a
sorry.
series-
If you hear crunching, she brought me candy. She brought me
No
Heath
eating
bar.
on the show.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I couldn't help myself.
We're gonna have a little eating on the show after this, just a little bit. But I'm gonna ask you a series of 11 questions, Jessica. I want you to answer these as fast as you can.
Okay.
Even if you don't have a strong opinion, just make an answer. Make one of us happy.
Okay.
Here we go. Number 1. Which is better, Karate Kid or Karate Kid 2?
Karate Kid 2.
No, yeah.
Which is worse, Star Wars Episode 1 or Star Wars Episode 2?
I asked a friend and he said 2.
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't seen them?
I have not. I'm not interested.
Oh, wow.
Zero
In any
interest
Star Wars?
in
Okay.
any Star Wars.
What if I told
I'm
you...
a huge movie buff.
What if I told you they're
No
mostly
interest.
made up of Grimm fairy tales?
Possibly.
Okay, sorry. Fast.
Sorry.
Do you rate movies using stars or letter grades?
Letter grades.
Okay. Which is the more America movie? Rocky, 4, or Independence Day?
Independence Day.
got one.
Is Nightmare Before Christmas a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie?
Halloween.
There we go.
Buffy or X-Files?
X-Files.
Nice. Lord of the Rings or Star Wars?
Lord of the Rings.
Based on previous questions.
Yep.
Which is more Christmassy, Die Hard or Lethal Weapon?
Die Hard.
Correct.
And it's, people just don't know. Phantom of the Opera or Les Miserables?
Phantom.
Labyrinth or Never-Ending Story?
Never-ending Story.
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days or 10 Things I Hate About You?
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Oh, that seems pretty even.
No, that was mostly Kent.
Except for the end
That
there.
was mostly a Kent thing. I know. The thing is, I'm very happy that you answered that one, but I was listening to this going, she's obviously Kent fan. That's
Yeah.
just how it works.
We're sitting next to each other.
Yeah. But no,
true.
thank you. I was going to say, Jessica, well done on that.
Thank you.
Glad you. I hope you had a good time with that questionnaire.
I did.
It's
did.
very in depth, and we know a lot about you now.
It's true.
You can tell a lot about a person from those questions.
You really can.
That's why I've never answered them.
Yeah, I recommend,
do.
listener, I recommend when you go on a date, the first date, ask these questions of your date. You'll get a sense of who they are, and they will get a sense of who you are. But Jessica, you are a wonderful person who also brought us some treats that
Thank
we're going to
you.
try real quick.
I did.
So the Oreos that you brought,
Yes.
you want to explain what they are?
Yes, they are apple cider donut Oreos. Limited edition.
Apple cider donut.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought I heard spice in there before, and so I was kind of concerned.
I think
Basically,
you heard cider.
these are wassail Oreos.
No!
Shout out to Marley Farron.
As I recall, I thought you liked wassail. Joel.
No.
So we're breaking every podcast rule by eating on the podcast.
Yes, but
True.
we're gonna try these, and have you tried these?
I have not.
So this
Just
is
bought these.
first. We're gonna all tier these at the end. All right. So
Okay.
let's each take a cookie and take a moment and try an Oreo live on the air.
And just so you're aware, listener, if you are not already a patron of Baconsale, this current activity usually happens a lot on Bacon Bits. So if you like what's going on here, support starts at just $3 a month.
If you like
don't,
on-air chewing,
you can skip forward a little bit if you'd like. And really, we wanted to do this as a preview and not just because we were arguing on the Bacon Bit and forgot.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, yeah. Spicy.
that cinnamon is coming through.
This tastes like a candle.
That's not a good thing.
In a
not a
good
good
way
thing at all.
This tastes. I want to eat the Glade spray, but I know I
Now,
shouldn't.
here's the thing:
It tastes like ginger snaps.
if it were
This is
apple
delicious.
cider,
Yeah.
if it were just apple cider, that'd be one thing. But this is apple cider donut. There's like an extra glaze. in it.
It's got a little cakiness to it.
It's got that
It
crulery.
does. The aftertaste is pretty.
It's got a little.
tastes
It's like cake donut a little bit. Yeah.
cakiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think I said?
Something not family friendly.
Nakedness.
No,
Flaky.
don't try and guess. That makes it worse.
Wire.
All right.
I'm going to give these a tier 2. They're not as bad as I expected.
True. I was expecting worse.
But
They're
not
pretty good.
great.
Not great. I wouldn't get these if I were to buy Oreos.
Tier 1. I love them.
Mint Oreos are these? Come on.
Oh,
Mint.
Oreo.
I would go mint, but these are fun.
I'm actually
good.
very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are
Coconut
good.
Oreos
Like I said,
are good.
I was thinking spice, like what is that?
Pumpkin spice.
Yes, but what is in that I hate? It's not nutmeg. It's the other.
Oh, Apple
Clove.
Spice Junction.
Clove, yeah.
Clove.
These are like subtle ginger.
I hate clove, and I don't like ginger that much.
Yes, Zach?
I don't know any of those.
But I will say, and then I worried about the cider thing because of the wassail connotation. But these are actually pretty good. I'm also going to give them a tier 2.
I'm a sucker for apple cinnamon. I love these.
Jessica.
I'd say about tier 2.
Okay, so Zach likes them best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna chew for a moment.
You win?
We're gonna chew for a moment, and then we'll get back to you.
1 hour later.
What are we talking about today, Zach?
I don't really know, but I've been told NBC's Grimm.
I'm glad you had the extra M on there.
And it's from NBC as well. Not just Grimm.
Grimm.
NBC's Grimm. So, yes, Jessica, you are a fan of NBC's Grimm.
A super fan.
I am. Yes.
How many times have you seen this show?
Twice.
Okay.
All the way through twice.
All the way through twice.
And it is 6 seasons, 123 episodes.
But is there a movie?
No movie
No
yet.
movie.
6 seasons in a movie.
Which I was going to say, when did it aired? Hold on, I had it right here.
2011?
Yep.
Did you watch it live?
I did initially, yes. And that my gosh, was so difficult because this show leaves cliffhangers. So it was pretty difficult to.
Well, you're like, I'm
watch
just
it
not going
live.
to watch this. I'll wait week to week.
Yeah.
And it started in an era when, I mean, it wasn't as easy to watch things online.
Very true.
So you had to watch it live.
Yes.
So in preparation for this show, you've watched the whole series twice now.
I have.
I watched the entire first season this past week. And
It's a lot of watching.
It is.
It is.
But here's the funny thing, and I mentioned this to Kent, but I don't think I told you guys. But I watched the first episode and I went, I've seen this.
Oh.
Like, I recognized it. And then I watched the second episode and I went, I've seen this show. And I think I had this kind of vague memory of me seeing the previews for it. It's a Halloween show. It's a creepy show. I was looking forward to it. And so I'm pretty sure on October 28th, 2011, I sat down and made a point to watch the pilot. And I enjoyed the pilot. And so then I watched the next episode. I don't know what happened after that.
Did you lose interest in the show? Is that why you watched the first 2 episodes and then
I mean,
trail
back
off?
then it really was like...
Because, like, you love the X-Files, right?
Yeah.
And it's very serialized in their Monsters of the Week, for example. So you like this format,
Yes.
but maybe for some reason you just stopped.
But like I said, back then it was a lot harder to watch things online. And so nowadays I just kind of add it to my queue and then, you know, every time a new episode come on, I watch it whenever I could.
Yeah, of course.
But back then you had to make time to sit down and watch these shows. And I mean, I had like, I think only 17 kids at the time. And so it was harder
Early
to
days.
keep up with that. Yeah, early days. And so it was harder to keep up with that. And so I think I kind of trailed off after that and then forgot about it. But it was always kind of back in my mind. People would recommend it to me because they know I like monsters. They know I like, you know, kind of these serialized dramas. But it wasn't until this episode that I ended up watching the entire first season.
I mean, it wasn't until a very similar show that Supernatural was recommended to you, 3 years ago that you started watching that one?
Yes, I'm
So it
almost
took a
done.
while.
Yes, I'm almost done with that. Well, and Supernatural was on the CW,
Yes.
which, for better or worse, is mockable. This was like
Supernatural, though.
No, what I'm saying, it was on a mockable channel. This was
Yes.
on like NBC. It's like,
But on Friday
NBC.
nights.
That is a mockable
Friday nights
channel.
is where NBC sends shows to die, which is why I was surprised this went 6 seasons.
6 seasons.
Now, we're talking around Grimm.
Yes,
I think
we
we
should-
should talk about Grimm.
I have just a real quick question.
Yes.
Comparing to CW, do the lead actors have CW bodies and faces?
Yes.
They're all very handsome?
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
Not bodies, right?
Like CW abs are like tier 1.
They're pretty good.
That is true.
Yeah.
Not quite tier 1.
Okay,
Which
so they're
pretty
not quite
close.
there, but CW faces?
Well, how did
Pretty
you
people?
How did you find out about the show? Do you remember like learning about it or sitting down to wanting to watch it?
I remember seeing previews for the show. And I know that Sean Hayes, who is just Jack on Will and Grace,
Yes. Oh,
yeah.
he's actually an executive producer. So I remember seeing the commercials and he would be talking about the show and just thought that it sounded like such a fresh idea, such a unique idea.
Such a fresh
So,
idea.
what is the
Such
idea?
a fresh idea since this came 5 years after
Hey,
Supernatural.
We'll get there.
Okay.
Jessica, we're in an elevator.
Yes.
You need to pitch the show to us. Well, you're pitching it to the listener right now.
Yes.
How many floors? I'll push the button.
So someone says
there are
someone
8
says,
floors.
Yeah, press the button and then we go, ding. Hey, I'm looking for a show to watch. What do you have in mind?
I would say, imagine if the creatures from the Grimm fairy tales were real and existed within people.
I think that you practiced that.
I did a
That
bit.
sounded very polished.
Can I
did
see
a
them?
bit.
Can I see these creatures? Are they just walking among us?
Now, we can't always trust the synopses online, but I do have the synopsis for the show, which goes a little bit more into the main character and the format of the show. Follows Portland homicide detective Nicholas Burkhart, who discovers he is a Grimm. We'll get into that later. The latest in a line of guardians who is sworn to keep the balance between humanity and mythological creatures known as Wesen. Spelled Wesen. Shut up, Wesen.
There's a lot of German in this.
Yes.
Like,
We'll get there. I can't wait for this part of the show.
well, because the Grimm, I was going to say this is based on the Grimm's fairy tales.
Yes.
Now, I mean, there's Grimm's fairy tales that we know by heart. Like there's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Pretty sure that was Grimm. Was that Grimm? Now all of a sudden I'm questioning everything.
I
I'm
know.
saying.
We know them so
Rapunzel?
We know them so well.
Proceeds to-
Oh, is that Hans
Rapunzel-
Christian Andersen?
Rapunzel,
Hans Christian
Devil and
Andersen,
Hansel
yeah.
and Gretel is one. Cinderella is one.
They're usually dark.
They're
Yes.
very dark, and these were tales that were. Oh, yeah, Snow White is one. Thank you, Joel, for looking that up.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you're not Joel, but
Also,
they're-
the mouse, the bird, and the sausage.
Oh, my favorite story.
Yep.
that's what I had for lunch. But the thing is, I remember thinking to myself, well, how many can they actually do? Because this is Grimm's fairy tales. There's only so many out there. I went and looked, and there's like 200. They
Yeah.
wrote like 200 stories. And they have ones like the Mouse, the Sausage, whatever that was, or like the Wolf and the 7 Young Kids, the White Snake.
Oh, great band.
Nice.
Yeah, the Devil with the 3 Golden Hairs, the Tailor in Heaven, the Magic Table, the Gold Donkey, and the Club in the Sack. I don't know what these are.
Harry Potter and the Club in the Sack.
Brilliant.
So there are so many, and I kind of went, oh, there's much more to these stories than I thought there were. And so what this show does, each episode, there's a lot of German because there's some sort of creature from the Grimm's fairy tales that pops up. And then he, being a Grimm,
Right.
which you can explain this part, Jessica. What is a Grimm?
So a Grimm is someone who can actually see Wesen. And
Wesen being like creatures.
yes, Wesen being creatures, and they are within people. So a person could look just normal, and then they what they
It
call
seems
is
like when they
vogue.
overheat.
Pretty much.
When they lose control of their emotions.
When they get emotional, when they're upset,
whether good or bad.
when they're upset, if they're angry, they kind of that Wesen side of them actually kind of takes over, and they physically change. Now, not everyone can see that, but if you're a Grimm, Nick can see that since he is a Grimm.
Not everyone can see that, but they can be seen if they want to.
Yes, yeah. So
I mean, they can wolf out and scare somebody.
Yes, exactly. So if they let that emotion, that Wesen side take over, it's called voguing. So they vogue.
Vogue.
Yes.
Strike a pose. You guys are both
For a
doing the
podcast.
Vogue hands.
Yes,
No
you
one can
are.
see Vogue hands.
It's true.
They are doing it.
Yeah, they feel it too.
And they can feel it.
Yes, so there are 2 ways that they can do that. One is they can only be seen by other Wesen and by Grimm, and another is they can be seen by everyone.
Yes.
Yes.
And,
So-
and it feels like that a lot of times they will, what do they call it, Vogue? No.
Yes.
When they wolf out. I called it wolfing out, but they do that kind of to show each other that they are Wesen. Like, they'll kind of like look each other
Like
in
they
the
can't automatically sense it unless they vogue.
eyes.
True.
But sometimes they do.
Sometimes they do, yes.
But also, I just want to set people's expectations for the effects on this show.
Okay.
Because if you've ever been on Snapchat and you've used the
Don't
filter,
get on Snapchat.
No, but FaceTime does it too, or,
Yeah.
or I think Google Chat does it, FaceChat does it too. But when they have those filters where it's like your face is normal, and then when you open your mouth, all of a sudden you turn into a kitty, and then you close your mouth and you turn back to normal.
Because that's what it is. They kind of go, "Rah," and they could be a demon. Like in the first episode, they were kind of ghoulish.
Yes.
And then they turn into cats in the next episode, or
Foxes
dogs, or
or-
pigs.
Yeah, there are different species of Wesen.
Yes.
Yes.
So the filters, as
The
you're
filters.
saying.
So that's the thing is, I watched it and I really was like, I think they just discovered this technology existed, and they were like, let's build a show around that. Let's build a show around Snapchat filters.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird. You watch other supernatural shows like Supernatural or Buffy, and they have like heavy
Latex
face makeup,
makeup,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And this one, I did see a couple images because I only watched 3 episodes, and the 3 I watched had really short glimpses, which honestly seemed like these filters you're talking about, Joel.
Right.
But then some of the images, and maybe the budget got better the longer the show went. And I don't know if they show them for more than 0.5 seconds, but it did seem like really good makeup, like prosthetics.
Whenever they do, and just,
Does it get better?
That's a no.
The CGI is not the best, but
Right.
I've definitely
but it
seen
is.
worse.
I mean, it's also a decade old at
Yes.
the beginning here.
Yeah.
It's still just a notch below Leia and Rogue One. So
But it really
it's
does,
true.
like, they do, when it's a quick CGI change, and they do it almost every episode, there's like 3 or 4 times someone will wolf out, Vogue, strike a pose.
I'm not doing it this time.
You
For the
are not.
record,
They'll do it multiple times, though, in a show, and I was like, that's got to kill the budget. And then I was like, well, I guess not, because it's not like it doesn't look great, I should say. It looks fine. For TV, it looks fine.
Yeah, it looks fine.
But then if they do it for an extended period of time, they put on prosthetics, and suddenly it's like, oh, that's practical. Like, you can kind of tell a difference.
Yeah, true.
So you said a Grimm can notice them, but what's the point of a Grimm? That's the
Good
title, not the
question.
main guy's name.
Yes.
His name is Nick.
His name is Nick.
So
but he
he's
is
a Grimm? Like
Grimm.
what happens there?
Yes. So Nick actually finds out that he's part of a family of Grimms. He was not raised to know what
From
that
the Grimm
actually
brothers.
means. Yes. So what a Grimm does, or what a Grimm is, someone who knows about these Wesen. It's kind of obviously a secret community. The people at large don't understand it. They don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
And Grimms are the ones who actually kill Wesen.
Okay.
Yes. And we say kill, like they hunt them. Like
They
you,
hunt
You
them.
could call them hunters.
Yes.
Supernatural, hunters of the supernatural. You could call them that.
This is true. Yes.
But there's also something where the Grimm is known by the Wesen, by these creatures.
Yes.
And they are terrified of him. Like,
They are.
Do you get special powers as a Grimm?
no! At least I didn't.
Like a sword or something?
no, you can see them. You can,
That's it.
you can
Yeah.
see the Wesen. But I'm like, he didn't get a Buffy thing where he gets some extra powers.
Nope.
They don't have
But
a
they're
lot
monsters.
They are.
True.
Like, I know he's a cop, right? And so this is a police procedural
Yes.
show, by the way.
Yes.
Where he has a partner who doesn't know what's going on.
Yes.
A fiance or girlfriend who doesn't know what's going on.
And then in the first episode, I mean, it's no real spoiler alert, but there's a side character who is a Wesen who joins the team as well.
Yes,
A
Monroe.
good Wesen.
A good one.
Because
Yes.
the thing is, and these Vesen, we're calling Vesen from now on, but
Yeah.
just know that Vesen equals creatures.
Yes.
The Vesen, they're good and bad. They're ones who are just trying to live their life daily and no big deal, but they do have certain personality quirks they're trying to kind of suppress.
Yep.
And then there's ones that are evil. Like some Vesen are like bounty hunters.
Right.
Bounty hunters are Vesen. Or like
Some steal people's like organs and stuff like that.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So it's all these different creatures. So each episode he will encounter this is kind
He's
of
solving a crime.
He is.
Yes, 'cause he is a cop.
I want to bring this up because it is very formulaic, at least the first couple episodes, where he will be investigating a crime, and one of the witnesses or the victim will be a Vesen. And then he'll have to figure out what type of Vesen it is. And it's like, oh, this week it's a bear, and next week it's a wolf, and then it's a bird. Like, but the whole point is that the Grimm brothers were not writing fairy tales. They were writing folklore, or not folklore. They were writing kind of a guidebook to these creatures hidden in like public. So
Yes.
everyone could know about them.
Wait, is this mythology in the show?
That's where the Grimm comes from. The Grimm brothers, that's what they were doing.
Because I kind of want to
Yes.
call you out on this one. Is this about Grimm's fairy tales, or is this just about animal people? Like, it honestly seems like the secret island of Dr. Moreau to me, because like, you're looking through the list of Vesen, which we'll go over. It just seems like animal people who are trying to take over or kill people. Are these actually based on stories from Grimm?
Some are.
Some
Okay.
are, yes. So yeah, the brothers Grimm, they created these quote unquote fairy tales based on real life accounts with these Vesen. Yes.
Well, like one of the first examples, I don't know if you watched this one, but one of the first examples, one of the first episodes, I was sitting there watching it, and this couple breaks into these people's houses.
the bear one.
Yeah. And I started going, Goldilocks and the Three Bears.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like there's one, the goose that laid the golden egg, and things like that, where you kind of start picking out things like, oh, I know that's from this fairy tale. But they don't usually go into the mythology. They don't really follow it, because what happened is those stories have already happened in the past. There are real creatures, but that whole thing with Little Red Riding Hood, that was a thing that happened in the past. They're not going to do the whole grandma. He doesn't hunt grandma every time. He just likes the
Right.
color red.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so this is a Monster of the Week show, or does it get more into arcs as it goes?
Both. Yeah.
Okay.
So pretty much every episode has a case that Nick and his partner Hank need to solve because they are homicide detectives. But it definitely does get into arcs. So at the beginning, it is pretty much a monster of the week because Nick is being introduced to all these Vesen.
Kind of like how all these spooky shows start.
Yes,
They're
exactly.
like, let's
It's
find our
laying the
footing. Here's a
groundwork.
couple short, scary stories.
And then we'll get into the bigger
And then
picture.
the audience gets involved. What
Yes.
do you prefer, Monster of the Week or the arcs?
I kind of prefer Monster of the Week. Like the
Okay.
first few seasons, Supernatural are my favorite.
Really?
Because they are just pretty
Yeah,
much the monster
spooky
of the
for
week.
40 minutes and then you're done.
Yeah, exactly.
One of my favorite things about Supernatural, now that I'm watching it, by the way, is they try to do the big arcs, and then every now and then they're like, we're not going to find this king demon for a while, so let's just go hunt this monster in Philadelphia.
Yeah, basically.
And those are sometimes the funnest ones
They are.
because they're just not as
You don't have to
emotionally
know.
draining.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot
Yeah.
of draining going
Yeah.
on. I do want to point out, by the way, Nick Burkhart, as we talk, the main character. My wife recognized him from
A million little things.
A Million Little Things. She recognized him. She's like,
Yes.
I know him. Dreamy, I might say.
Yes.
He looks like Brandon Routh.
He kind of does.
A little bit.
I
yeah.
get
Like
that from
worse
him.
hair, Brandon Routh.
His hair gets better. You only
does
saw
it?
season 1.
Yeah, okay.
I can't possibly reach Brendan Routh, though. He's so good.
He's so good.
His hair is amazing.
He's handsome.
But I was going to say, even the name Nick Burkhart means brave protector in German.
What?
And that's what they do, though, is like all these terms and things that they come up with. Every episode, they're throwing out new things. Then Nick will have to go in his camper, his aunt's camper, and
Yeah.
kind of look up stuff and look up pictures and figure out how to deal with these monsters, all while keeping it a secret, because if he tells people, it could expose them to dangers.
Yeah, and they will probably think he's crazy because,
Yeah.
I mean, clearly.
I was kind of dying. So I only watched 3 episodes, but by I think it was the third episode I saw, his partner went, "This town's getting really crazy," and I was like, "Yeah, Portland has a lot of weird murders," and I'm like, "Oh, it's Portland."
Well,
Like,
Yes.
it makes sense.
Also, I think it is the first episode or the second episode where Nick has to shoot this guy or Vesen, and then they're like, the first shooting is a big deal. You're gonna have to go to counseling, And every episode he has to kill someone after that. And I'm like,
Basically.
is he just like having, they're like, oh
like,
yeah,
we're worried about him, but he seems pretty cool.
he's just killing
Yeah.
tons of people these days.
He seems able to handle it.
But
So-
it's a cop drama, so you get kind of they're trying to solve the crime.
Yes.
And so you get kind of that element of it. Then you get the supernatural element. But the thing I found interesting, and this is just a first season thing, is that at the beginning, he's a very by-the-book type police officer where he's like, this is the right thing to do. This is police procedure. This is what we need to do.
Yep.
No nonsense.
But as the first season progresses and he has to keep covering up kind of the fact that these are monsters, he starts having to cross certain cop lines where he's like, okay, I'm going to compromise this legal thing because if people find out about this, they're going to freak out.
Yeah. So he's trying to basically continue his life normally, quote unquote, while he is trying to navigate what it means to be a Grimm at the same time.
Well,
So,
for example, spoiler alert for episode 1, if that's okay.
That's probably fine.
But
Yeah.
he gets this calling and he's like, I'm not ready for this. And the person who gives him the calling says, yeah, your girlfriend, you have to leave her. You can no longer be connected to her. And so he's debating that. At least for the few episodes I saw.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happens there. But because he knows it will be a solitary life. By the way, she is the worst actress ever. His girlfriend. Yeah.
she's not great.
She's not great at all. But I don't know. Maybe she gets better as the show goes. Okay.
she's not my favorite.
Yeah. But I mean, I did like that element.
Because she took Nick. That's why.
Yeah.
But I mean, because there is that mantle, I didn't know that he never really gets powers. I would like to see maybe some stakes in the
Well-
show the more I continue to watch.
He does get some powers, sort of.
What?
He kind of gets like super hearing.
Flight.
Hold on.
Laser eyes.
Here comes this rhinoceros man.
I can hear
I
it.
heard him.
Far, far away.
Well, yeah, he goes through a couple things that it really kind of it heightens his abilities.
Okay.
So he's able to become a better fighter because he can hear like minute things. So he's able to kind of detect
I can
when
hear this
things are
knife
going
going
to
towards my
happen.
neck. Move.
Right? Yeah. And what I like about Nick is that he's very capable. He's not the hero who constantly gets beat up. He is the one who's very in
He's
charge.
good at his job.
He's like
He's
a
very good
solid
at his job.
leading hero.
Yes.
He is.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, we've all seen the shows where the guy's, supposed to be the hero and he's beat up a million times and then he has to come back and win. And Nick's kind of no nonsense, just beats him up.
But to tell you, Kent, I was going to say pretty early on, though, he does get one severe beating from a troll. And
Okay. As we do.
Yeah, one of the Billy goes gruff or something like that. I don't know.
Perfect.
But he gets pretty beaten up, and that's when I went, oh, he is just mortal. He's not getting any sort of like super strength or healing ability. It's like, no, he has to end up in the hospital like a lot of us.
And what's difficult is some of these Wesen, when they vogue and they become their Wesen side, their creature side, it's not just, the big bad wolf or whatever gets hairy and he gets fangs. Some of them actually turn into like full on dragons that can breathe fire. Some of them have like big tails because they are like scorpions. And that's kind of how they kill people is they stab them through the chest. Yeah. So, I mean, some people have full body transformations.
But here's a question I have for you, Jessica.
Okay.
As I was watching this show, he would see the Wesen, like he'd kind of see their true nature, and they'd look at him and they'd know he was a Grimm. They never explained how they knew he was a Grimm because they wouldn't notice it until they Wesen out.
It's in his eyes, isn't it? Is it in his eyes? Can they see something in his eyes?
They actually can. That's revealed like end of season 3, end of season 4. So, I mean, it's halfway through the series before you actually find out how they know he's a Grimm.
Because like they freak out, like they're
They do.
terrified.
They're like, you're the most handsome guy in the show. You're definitely a Grimm.
Right?
Well, I mean,
yeah.
picture it like if you were talking to someone and all they revealed themselves as the Grim Reaper. That's kind of what you feel is like this terror in their eyes of like, whoa, don't kill me. I have a wife and kids. Like, and he's like, no, I'm just a cop. I'm here investigating. He has to talk him down. But they don't explain it. Why don't they explain it in the first season?
Yeah, they do not.
Is it a big twist?
It's not necessarily. But what I love is that the Wesen are actually, how when kids are little, they hear about, the monster under the bed or that kind of a thing. That is how Wesen children are introduced to Grimms. Like, oh, you better eat all your vegetables or the Grimm's going to come and get you.
Do they explain that in the show?
They do a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Well,
so
in first season.
I know
Yeah.
people in real life who do this. Chris Trout.
Grimm? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That is true.
Chris.
And you know what? That is definitely something that is brought up in Grimm. They deal with like mythical creatures, and there is Krampus. So
There's
yes.
actually a few cryptids in this show that
There
we've
are.
brought up before. I'm just going to name a few.
Yes.
And these are the easy names, and we'll get to the harder ones. But the Ozwing. Right? Did I say that
Which
okay?
one's that one?
That is the
Like I
demon
know.
with wings. It's kind of the vampire with wings.
Yeah.
It has like a detached
The
body.
Ozwing, you know.
That is the
wing
one that
The Japanese vampire or something
the
like that?
Japanese one that actually eats babies in the womb.
Wow.
Yes.
Also Krampus.
Yes.
Which we the Nuclevi, which is the centaur that can't go past rivers.
Yes.
And there's the Wendigo as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so kind of fun.
Didn't Supernatural do Wendigo?
Oh yeah, Supernatural's kind of done all this. X-Files did it before.
It's
I mean,
all
show's been doing
open
it forever.
territory.
They also
So-
mentioned Chupacabra. So it's kind of like, here's the legends, and here are the Wesen that inspired that legend.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now without spoiling like
Bigfoot's
season
in there, too.
Yeah, Bigfoot's there.
I just saw that episode.
Without spoiling season finales, is there a grand plan? Because these creatures have been around since I don't know how long. Do they have a goal in mind? These Wesen? Because
You go ahead. You know better than I do.
I was going to say not necessarily. They're just trying to coexist. Some, obviously, I would say like the evil Wesen, they are trying to make the world know about Wesen because they're tired of living in the shadows. So
Really?
there is a whole season.
so even
where
though
it's
they
like,
hide themselves because they're not accepted yet, they're hoping
Yes.
one day they will be.
Yeah, there is one season, I believe it's 4 or 5, where there is an organization called Black Claw that is trying to.
I'm going to say they're a
basically-
villainous organization.
Right? Yeah, with a
they
name
made
like
that
that.
drink, right?
Yes.
That's the opposite.
Yeah,
Turns you to a Wesen.
right. So they are trying to basically overthrow the humans.
We should also say, at least for the most part, from what I say, these Wesen, it's genetically passed from person
It
to
is
person.
genetically
This is just
passed.
father to son.
So you don't get bit and
You don't get
turn
bit
into
by
a
a
No.
werepig. Yeah.
No.
Were-dolphin.
Yeah.
Right?
But at least there was some reference at the beginning in the first season somewhere about like 7 families or something like seven royal, 7 thrones, something like that. But
Yes.
basically this power struggle that's happening among, I want to say, organized crime in the monster world. And so I think
good
that's
name for
kind
a
of where it
band.
comes from.
So there are royal families that have been around for generations, for centuries, and they actually know about the Wesen. They're not necessarily Wesen, but they are like the 7 royal families, and they kind of try to, I would basically say, kind of try to rule.
Okay.
There's also something called the Wesen Council. And
Oh, like
they're
the
ones-
Volturi.
Yes,
Hey.
exactly. The Wesen Council are just
You knew
like
it would
the
come
Volturi.
up.
Bring up Twilight. Come
That's-
on, man.
That is exactly
It's
what
a
they
relevant
are.
example.
It is. Yeah, they try to basically keep the Wesen to the code. Basically, just
Then
try to stay
exactly
hidden.
like 'em.
Yeah, try to stay hidden. Make sure that people don't know about
Way to
us.
go, Stephanie Meyer.
Yeah,
Well, I read
Oh,
that in
man.
history, the Wesen have been they get involved in like riots a lot. They like to incite certain people,
Yes.
and they were involved in the Boxer Rebellion and starting the Boston Tea Party.
yes. So
Which
that's
I was like, what?
That's what's kind
Weird
of fun.
mythology.
Is they mention they bring up historical events and what actually caused them, like why the Crusades were actually fought, why people followed certain influential
Dictators?
leaders. Yes, because they were Wesen who were able to just be able to persuade people.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah.
I was going to say some Wesen have powers, obviously, to kill, but others have powers to influence. Like they talk about how, like bounty hunters, a lot of bounty hunters in the world
Yes.
are just they're a certain type of Wesen because they gravitate towards that profession
Good
because
smelling
of who they
or
are.
good hearing.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. They also bring up Jack the Ripper and why he was actually killing a lot of people.
he was Wesen.
He was killing Wesen.
Wait, he's a hero? A hero? I don't know what's going
I
on.
definitely wouldn't call him a hero, but
Nor would I.
Yeah.
I think.
How is it different from a Grimm though?
good question. But with Grimms, Nick is different than other Grimms because mostly Grimms are like, all Wesen need to die. They just basically chop off all their heads. But Nick, since he wasn't raised basically as a Grimm or to understand everything, like you said, he was very black and white. He's a cop.
He
So
seems like
he's-
how I would treat a spider in my house. If I don't see it, we're fine. But if it's around me, I'll scream and then kill it.
Exactly. And I have to say, I am on spider alert down here in the Bacon
Yeah.
Cave because
By the way, yeah.
We haven't seen it in a
I will be
while.
out so fast before you even know it's here.
Kent will still squeal.
I'll scream louder than you.
loudest.
Oh my gosh.
Here's my question though.
Yes.
Because who dropped the ball then? Like if the Grimms are supposed to be trained from when they're young, and all of a sudden Nick's just kind of thrown into it because a family member of his dies,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just kind of like, well, if they're supposed to know all these things, Why weren't they training him from a young age? Why let him grow up just normal?
See, and I'm not quite sure why. We do find out that there are other Grimms. Nick does meet other Grimms.
Oh, so it's not just like one?
No, he's not the only one
It's not
in
like
the world.
it's not like the help me, Buffy.
Yeah, the chosen one.
Oh.
No, the name
Slayer.
Slayer. Thank you.
Slayer.
Yeah, that makes sense considering it was the name of the show.
Buffy the Vampire
Come on,
Chosen
Joel.
One.
But like a Slayer rises, then once she dies, then another Slayer comes up.
Right.
Nope, there
It's not like
can
that.
be multiple Grimms. You don't find that out, I think, until
can
a
be
few season ends. Yeah, exactly. But I think when Nick was very young, his parents both passed, and his aunt raises him.
Passed in a car accident.
In
he
a
was
car
told.
accident, yes.
But in the first episode, his aunt tells him that wasn't a car accident. And she can't
Exactly.
explain more than that.
Yes, and he finds out that his aunt is a Grimm. So the very first episode, Nick starts to see some things. He sees somebody vogue for the first time, and he's like, "What?
Was it Madonna?
Just happened?" Yeah, he's not quite sure what's going on. His
Oh, you
aunt,
can make Vogue jokes, but we can't.
I was reserving that one for when the time was right, Zach.
Yeah, so his aunt just appears. She's actually dying of cancer, and she's trying to explain to him what's going on, but he's dealing with seeing things as he's a Grimm and dealing with work and with his girlfriend Juliet, and she brings this whole trailer with her. And she just keeps telling him, you need to look in the trailer, you need to look in the trailer. And in the trailer,
Which is basically a TARDIS. It's huge inside.
it is very huge inside. My
that
sister
big.
mentions
It's
that.
big.
She mentions that all the
Loaded
time.
Weapon 1. That's how big it is.
Yes.
It's not that big.
Yeah.
But inside the trailer is actually things that have been passed down from his family for centuries. There are certain weapons that can kill certain Wesen. There's
Books and-
potions and books,
right.
because what his family does is as they come across a Wesen, they actually draw a picture of it, what it looks like, what their encounter was, and how to kill it.
Yeah.
So
But
that's
it
what
seems
Nick
like-
is going through as he comes across a Wesen, because he has no idea what's going on or how to approach
I'm
it.
guessing Nick was probably born in the 80s.
Probably.
Because he's like in his
in
late
his
20s, early
style.
30s in
Right.
like 2011. Didn't they have pictures? Couldn't they have taken a photograph?
You can't. They turn so fast, and that's it.
But if they
But I
have
mean-
if they have machines,
Honestly, all they need is like Microsoft Paint, and you put a tiger face on someone's body.
Oh, it's a Wesen.
That's
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. But I mean, these were passed down through his family for centuries. So these are like leather-bound books that he can go back
Sacred
through.
Very
text,
important.
Yes.
of course.
well,
Yes.
and I was going to say a lot of it's in German as well.
Yes, it is.
Ooh, can we do this now?
Let's do it.
Zach, I've sent you a list of names, and it's very extensive. Some I may just cut out. And Jessica, if you'd like to correct him on any sort of pronunciation.
Okay.
But Zach, I'm going to have you read these names, and I'll tell you what kind of creature they are.
Blutbad.
Oh, well done. It's Blutbad,
Dang it.
but it's a werewolf.
Which means bad blood is what the translation was.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, like listening to these German names, a lot of them you're kind of like, I think I know what that means.
Yeah.
What's the next one?
Come on.
Dickfellig.
That's a rhino-like creature.
Icebibber.
Ice Bieber.
Ice
Justin
Bieber.
Bieber.
It's actually a beaver creature.
Yes.
Volterseelen.
It's a frog creature with beautiful hair.
Fush so full wild.
You just summoned a Wesen.
Oh my goodness.
Food wild. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Looks like the Green Goblin actually, but it's basically
yes.
Rumpelstiltskin in the story.
Volker.
Now that's a demon
Some of these I don't even know what they are.
That's an
The
ox
way you're
creature
pronouncing
based on the
them.
pronunciation.
Gedachdisesser.
That's an octopus creature
If you-
that latches onto a victim's head and steals their memories.
If you play this episode backwards,
It says Paul is dead.
it will be backwards. Gelumcaedus.
It's an alligator creature.
I'm letting you know right now, Zach. If you go back and try and say a syllable again, it just confuses the whole world.
Genio Inocuo.
Are you okay?
I feel like I'm having a stroke.
It's like you're trying to sing Christina Aguilera but couldn't figure out the words.
This is why I asked you to read these, Zach.
I hate
That
you.
is a tortoise creature. We're not even halfway done yet.
Gluenvolk.
Oh, pretty good. It's an alien creature that has blue glowing skin. And when females become pregnant, they prey on cows and consume their ovaries.
Hasenfuischen Schneck.
I really want to play this backwards now and see what you're saying.
A blobfish creature known for their cowardice and being covered in watery mucus.
Been there. Heftigaurausch.
It's a bull creature.
Huntalami Mujini.
It's a flatworm creature that shapeshifts.
Hakenkopf.
A dung beetle creature.
Been there. Konigschlang.
A king cobra creature.
What was that?
Don't make her repeat it. It's going to sound different.
It's just so, I watched the first season. I don't know any of these creatures.
Some of these are just one-timers.
Yeah.
Blutbad.
I know Blutbad.
Yeah.
Lebensauger.
Leech creature.
Oh, dang. Laissant picture.
It's an otter creature.
Dang it. It's PF.
Didn't you say your first grade teacher taught you how to read okay?
Dang it. Blip.
Wait, you were struggling on Blip?
You only have a few left, Zach.
Come on.
Please true.
That's a White Panther creature.
Sharp black.
It's an owl creature.
No. Giuntoli.
That's pretty good.
Jenna Moreau? What?
Supernatural fly. They have the habit of blinding people by spraying worms into their eyes.
Ouch.
Terrible.
Oh, dang it. Dang it. No.
You got this. I believe in you.
Ungeizifer Griffer.
It's a weasel creature. My job's way easier than
It'd be
yours,
a
by the
lot
way.
easier if you didn't try to do the German accent.
This last one is my favorite one.
No. Okay. Wettbewerbsgewinner.
Have you ever seen Twin Peaks? When
yeah, the backwards talking guy. Yeah. I'll tell you what it sounds
But
like.
that is an avian reptilian creature. So there are, thank you for doing that, Zach. I really appreciate you.
Hate you get done.
Throughout the show, there are 132 of Wesen mentioned or shown, and I chose the 25 with the hardest to pronounce
Yeah,
names.
because you didn't even bring up like Hexen Beasts, which are like
Yeah, well, that's
pretty
easy to
common.
say.
Yeah, because I can pronounce that.
Yeah, you got
Not
Blutbad.
Blusenblubber.
What's the fox ones?
Fuchsbow.
Fuchsbow. Bless
Well
you.
done.
Yeah, she knew that one.
And that's what's interesting about this show is like one of the side characters, the comic relief of the show,
Yes.
which he's a great character.
He's my favorite.
He is a Blutbad, which is a werewolf. See, that's all you have to say, Zach. But it's not like
Zauber Beast.
you see him and you're like werewolf, but it's like no, you have to be like polite with the names of these creatures.
Yeah.
And it's so German.
It's
like
very German.
So that's the thing, though. They have all these German words and German names, but they do not try to do German accents. Like he's
No.
like, you're a Blutbad. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm Blutbad. Like that kind of is how they talk about it.
Monroe does a little bit. Like there's a word for people who know about Wesen but aren't Wesen, and it's like this long German word. And
I wish you could find it.
there's
and
no
Zach
way.
can say
I
it.
know,
Never,
there's
please
no way I
never.
could pronounce
Which
it.
I do want to jump to that. We talked about the creatures, but I do want to talk about the characters. Can you give us a rundown of just like the basic main characters and who they are and what they do?
Yeah. So we have Hank Griffin. He is Nick's detective partner. We have Monroe.
Nick being the main character.
Yes, Nick being the main character. We have Monroe, who is the comic relief. He's the Blutbad. But what's funny is I didn't realize he doesn't have a last name.
Oh.
Until I was writing down the characters, I went,
He's just Monroe?
He really doesn't have a last
That's it?
name. He's
Okay.
just Monroe. Yeah.
What if Monroe is his last name?
Monroe.
James.
I have aunts named Terry, so.
What?
Oh.
We also have Juliet Silverton. She is Nick's girlfriend. We have Rosalie Calvert. She is a Fuchsbow who runs like a spice shop, and that's kind of where they get some of their...
She's a fox.
She is a fox.
Yeah.
A literal turns
Yes.
into a fox.
So they have to do like potions and stuff to remedy some certain
She's-
things, and she is the one who runs the spice shop.
Put it in Buffy's terms.
Oh, here we go.
She's kind of like the Willow.
Oh, okay. Makes sense. To me. Does
Yes.
it make sense to anyone else? Who
No.
knows?
No. Yeah, because I was going to say Monroe's more like the Giles.
The redhead?
Allison Hannigan.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
All right, and then we have Adelind Shade. She is a Hexen Beast.
Yeah, she
She's
is.
just terrible.
Here's the thing. She is one of the most, how can I say this? One of the most iconic images of the first season. Because like in the very
Very
first
much
episode,
so.
she pops in and you're like, that person sticks out in my mind. She's a very attractive woman, but
Yes.
she's also a Hexen Beast.
She is.
And she has a really kind of ugly vogue.
Yes, Hexen Beasts are witches.
Dating, am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the thing is she stands out. Like she's one of those presences whenever she's on the screen. Because maybe it's just because that first episode, but you're like, she's evil.
And she's meant to
Very
be one
much
of the
so.
main antagonists?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Yes.
Kent would absolutely love her. Like
Really?
poster on his wall, kind of love.
Wait. Okay. Because I've only seen a few episodes, so I didn't know
just
much
think-
about her.
Yeah.
She is in the first episode. She is the first Vogue that Nick ever sees. So she's crossing the street.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember.
Hexen Beast
Yeah.
is definitely one to remember.
I've already drawn pictures, and it's the future Mrs. K. Dunn. Yeah.
There you go. We also have Captain Sean Renard. That is obviously the police captain, Nick and Hank's boss. And then we have Sergeant Drew Wu, who is a police officer, and he is definitely the dry comic relief.
He is. Like, he's the one who, like, Nick's partner,
Hank.
Hank, is pretty dry, like, pretty, I don't know what's going on, but I don't like it. And then the other officer will come in and say something like, "Oh, looks like we got a murder here." Vogue, am I right? He won't say that, but something along those lines.
Yeah. I did want to say that Monroe, he is the other comic relief. He pretty much says what normal people are thinking who are watching the show. Like, they'll say, "Okay, here's the plan," and he'll just be like, "Why? That's a terrible plan. Nobody should ever do this." And so he's
like, we're going up against a dragon.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh yeah, nothing bad will happen there."
Okay, I kind of summarized episodes earlier. I'm going to summarize an episode again, because then now we're getting a little further into it. So Nick will see something weird. He'll try to look it up, not understand it. He'll then go to Monroe and be like, "Monroe, have you heard of what's known as the one, Zach? Give a name." And he'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's one of those worm-like monsters. They're great at cooking, though. Like, he'll just kind of throw out all these random facts, because he's a Wesen. He knows these things about most other Wesen.
Yep, exactly.
Some things he's like, "Oh, you don't want to mess with that," or "I don't know too much about it."
Yep.
And then they'll, even though Monroe is not a cop, they will end up going together, and he'll help him learn how to defeat it, and then Nick will have to defeat it without his partner. He'll somehow have to separate from his partner, destroy the Wesen, and then come up and be like, "Oh, hey, this guy just impaled himself." Whoops.
Exactly. So Nick meets Monroe in the very first episode. He actually helps him catch the bad guy. And Nick basically makes Monroe be his friend. So the first season or so, Nick will just call Monroe all the time, like in the middle of the night. And Monroe's like, "Why are you calling me? Stop bugging me." Yeah. But he's literally the only person that he can talk to about this. So it's just Nick trying to figure out how to do his personal life and know how to be a Grimm, and basically as the people around him start to understand and start to figure things out and start to know, and life gets a lot easier for him.
Yeah, I like that, because like if you watch any CW superhero shows, they tell the entire team of 8 people in like episode 2, "Oh, here's my secret identity," and you're like, "Oh, really?" Like, there's no secret to it anymore. But also, so I like that he has one confidant, at least for the time.
Yes.
But also, having watched the first season, it is like getting to the point where I'm like, how are people not catching on?
Sure.
Yeah.
Like, how does his partner, and his partner has seen some things, but he can't explain them. His girlfriend has seen some things, but she can't explain them.
Yep.
And it's a whole thing where he doesn't really want to come clean to them. But at the same time, I'm like, you're putting him in more danger by not telling them.
Right, exactly. He doesn't want to tell them because obviously he doesn't want to change their lives, have them think he's crazy. So he actually thinks that he is protecting them, when I do agree there are times where it's like, why don't they just tell this person already?
Yeah.
So yeah, it gets a little bit frustrating.
So we did this episode on Common Writer a couple of years ago. I know, weird reference, and we talked about this character. His name is Starfish Hitler, right?
Very memorable. Yes.
Weird reference, but Hitler
there's actually
was a Blutbad?
Yes.
Yes.
Was he a Blutbad, or was he a...
I'm not sure if he was a Blutbad, but he was definitely a Wesen.
He found some cursed coins that corrupted him, and when he was giving a speech, he was overcome with emotion, and he Wesened or evoked at the time, like in the video, I guess, that only Grimms could see.
He was a Blutbad, you're right.
And Hitler's secret vision for the world was one ruled by Wesen, apparently.
Yeah, so that is definitely one of the historical.
So they don't
political.
Do they have an episode about that, or just a reference to that?
Nick is actually going through. He's in his trailer with a couple people. I can't quite remember who, and he's playing this video.
Monroe.
Yeah, he's playing this video, and it's a video of Hitler.
Okay.
And in the video, Hitler vogues, and Nick just goes,
like for
whoa.
a frame. Yeah.
Yeah, he just goes, whoa, and they're like, what happened? He goes, Hitler was a
I was just
Wesen.
watching this video on Hitler.
Yeah, because he's going through just the stuff that in the trailer that his family has accumulated over the years, and he's just like, did you guys? Hitler was a Wesen. And they're like, really? It just kind of, blows your mind.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about how this is kind of a murder show, police procedural, and there's monsters. How scary is this show? Is it scary?
It can get pretty scary. So my sister and I have watched it a couple times. My little sister and her husband, we've convinced them to watch it. They've watched it a couple times. We've finally convinced my parents to start watching it. And they learned very quickly that they could not watch the show with the cat on either of their laps, because you're jumping and my mom screams.
Because the cat's a Wesen too.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of jump out moments.
Yeah. There is quite a bit of jumping. I would say it can be pretty scary. It can be pretty intense.
Speaking from a parental standpoint, I definitely had to pause it when the children would walk in the room.
Yes.
Because of scary imagery and because of violent content. It's not as violent as Supernatural. Almost every episode of Supernatural starts with someone getting killed off screen and a huge blood cannon shooting across
Yeah, there
the
doesn't
wall.
seem to be a lot of blood in the show.
But like, there's an episode with rats, for example,
Okay.
and they show a body post-mortem that had been eaten by rats.
Really?
And I really, my kid walked in the room like almost right in
Of
front. I'm
course
like, ah!
Don't come in here.
I mean, if you're okay with like, and it's network TV, they're never going to cross any major lines.
Yeah.
But it is like there are corpses shown.
Okay.
There is some blood shown. There is death shown. So it's intense in that way. But if you're okay with crime procedurals, most police
Right.
procedurals, this is right in tail with that.
Of the 132 Wesen I saw, there were 3 based on images I saw that actually look kind of scary.
Wait, how many Wesen did you say there were?
132?
There are 123 episodes.
Yeah.
That's more than one Wesen
Yeah,
per
sometimes
episode.
Yeah.
Sometimes they cross over.
It's Wesen on Wesen violence sometimes, and they're different species.
So toxic.
Yeah.
But like the El Kukui, he's like a boogeyman. He has got like beady eyes and stuff. The image of that was pretty scary.
Yeah.
The Zerstor, which is it's like a swamp thing with a skeleton face and green glowing
Yes,
eyes. That looked really scary.
That
actually.
is intense, yes.
And then I should have Zack. No, well, I'll do this one. It's a Gelumcaedus. Oh, that was pretty easy.
yeah.
Looks
Come
like and it
on.
looks like
No,
a
you got to say it
reptile.
like Zach would.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It looks like the reptile from Mortal Kombat, but actually like terrifying looking.
Yeah, there are some that are.
So those are
quite
episodes I'm actually
terrifying.
going to seek out this
Oh, you
Halloween.
should.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
can you
definitely.
just jump into an episode without having a
I don't know.
backstory?
Good question.
I think since you've seen the first few, you
So-
probably could.
So you've seen the show twice. There are
Yes.
6 seasons. So
Yes.
it's not like the show was canceled in season 2.
No.
So I'm assuming they finished it telling the story they wanted to tell.
They
Would that be
did.
right?
Yes, they did know that the show was ending. They
Okay.
did know that season 6 was going to be the last one. It is the shortest one.
Which is fantastic. We've
Right.
talked about it on the show
Yes.
before, but that's just the way to do it.
It really is. And even though it is a shorter season, you wouldn't know. It doesn't feel like anything is rushed.
Okay.
It feels like everything is pretty much, it plays out. It actually kind of, I wouldn't say that put a bow on it, but they knew that it was ending.
Okay.
So it
It
actually
is a
ends.
conclusion.
Yeah, it is a conclusion.
And
Yes,
as a
exactly.
super fan, how did the ending pay off for you? But without ruining anything, like were you happy with the way it ended?
I was.
Okay.
There were some. Okay, obviously it's a crazy show, but season 6 gets pretty dang crazy.
Sure.
And that's where it has one of the monsters that you mentioned that kind of had like a demon. He's in the last season, and it's pretty intense. There are some twists that you just don't expect, and it's like I said, just intense. But I think it ended pretty well. I enjoyed it.
Like, I'll be honest, this show is up my alley. Like, the special effects are super poor. Some of the acting,
Not super poor.
the
Poor.
effects,
Not super poor.
I've seen
Snapchat
worse.
filter.
It's not, a Snapchat filter. My kids love Snapchat filters.
But I probably will keep watching this show. But obviously, anyone that knows who we are in the show knows that we love scary stuff, even if it's kind of mediocre.
Yeah.
Could you recommend this to anyone else?
I do have a couple friends who watched it as it aired with me. People that I wouldn't really expect to like it, but they also do like Supernatural, the show. So I would pretty much say if you enjoy, I would say humor and action and definitely the scary elements, then it would be up your alley.
And this is currently, as of this airing, on Amazon Prime, where you
Right.
can just watch all the
It
seasons
is.
right there, one after the other. Very easy to find.
Yes, very easy to find. One thing that I did want to mention that I kind of forgot. So Joel, earlier you brought up the Grimm Reapers.
Yes.
There are Grimm Reapers in this show,
And they hunt Grimms.
and they hunt Grimms. So they are
Because
the
they're grim.
They are the-
Grim Reapers.
Yes, they are. And I think what it actually
That's
says
where
on
the names
there.
come from.
Yeah, what it actually says on their sickle, it says Reapers of the Grimms.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
literally, they're Wesen who literally carry scythes.
Yes.
And chop people.
That's pretty
Yes,
cool. I'm in.
Yeah, it's. I enjoy it. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Clearly.
So we talked about which episodes to maybe start with, or basically just watch the whole show is what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But you personally, do you have any favorite episodes?
I do.
Okay.
There's definitely humor laced without, like Joel mentioned, though it is a bit of a darker show. But some of my favorite episodes, there's one in season 1 and one in the last season 6. The first season is called Lovesick. It's season
Yeah.
1, episode 17.
That was a fun one.
That is a fun one. We have a character who inadvertently kind of gets sucked into the world of Wesen. We did kind of mention that Adeline is a hex and beast, so she's a witch. and that clearly has connotation that she's evil, and she is. So she actually makes cookies with a love potion meant for another character.
Cookies with blood in
with
them.
blood. Her blood and
Worst bakery ever.
Right?
The blood of the deceived and the blood of the deceiver.
Yes, exactly. So her blood,
Which
and
tastes
she's
better?
trying to make Hank fall in love with her for nefarious reasons.
You know, they've proven
So-
that if you put blood in baking, it actually reacts the same way as egg.
Ew.
Are you being for real?
No, for real.
And
Yeah.
applesauce works the same as butter. Just pointing that out. But no, so the interesting thing about this was she makes this love potion for this specific person, but it's for that specific person.
Yes.
Someone else takes a bite of one of the cookies because they just think they're normal cookies, and it
Yes.
has a completely different effect on them that was fairly horrifying.
It's very bad side effects. And so it happens over a couple episodes, but Nick, the main character, starts to notice weird things that this person is doing. And he is literally just eating inanimate objects. Like he's talking to Nick as he's...
cushion fluff and
Yes.
change.
Oh, I've
Yes.
seen that episode. This on TLC. Strange Addictions.
Exactly.
Basically.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's talking to Nick as they're in the police station, and he gets something out of the vending machine. He gets his change back, and he just pops it in his mouth and swallows it without even thinking what he's doing. And Nick's
Right.
like, what did you just do?
And it's not like he can digest this. He actually gets sick from it.
He does, and he ends up in the hospital. But Nick asks him, like, why did you just do that? He's like, do what? He said, you just ate your change. And he goes, that's weird. Why would I do that? He has no recollection of
Makes
what
no
he's
sense.
doing.
So weird.
Yeah. So he actually passes out in the episode, and they take him to the hospital. And the nurse, is talking to Nick, and she's like, we retrieved all of this stuff out of his stomach. And it's
Bunch
like
of random stuff.
It's just, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
just really like cushion stuff. And they go to try to help him. And Nick is talking to him like through the door at his house. He's like, hey, will you let us in? He's like, no, I'm busy. I'm eating dinner. And he's like, what are you eating? He's like, I'm eating fiber. And he's actually in his house eating the
eating the
carpet.
rug. Yeah.
And he's just giggling because he has no idea what he's doing. So they have to go in and help him. And it's
Yeah.
just...
That's a good episode.
It's just highly entertaining.
That one definitely stood out.
Yes, and there is one called Blind Love in season 6, episode 7. So Nick and all of
Not
his
too many
friends.
spoilers because I haven't
Yeah.
got
By the way,
there
we've
yet.
already
Yeah.
crossed the weird line. You
Yes,
don't need to
very
apologize
true.
for it.
Very true. So Nick and his friends all go out, kind of like a birthday weekend. I think it's for Monroe, and they are actually given like a love potion to fall in love with other people than who they're with, and
Okay.
it just like hilarity ensues. It's actually it could be pretty serious, but I mean. You have, this married couple who's fallen in love with other people, and they're just kind of falling over themselves. And one person actually falls in love with himself. I mean, it's actually quite hilarious.
There are elements of humor in this.
There are definitely, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it is more serious, but there are definitely funny moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are two of my favorites.
And I'm assuming cliffhangers at the end of each season, which make you keep watching.
Holy cow!
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, so what have I
will talk
done?
about this
Are you okay?
Because I was like, okay, I'll watch the first season and
Right.
I'll stop. And so I literally finished. It's
like 23
as
episodes,
of the recording.
probably.
I finished this morning,
Right.
And I just had like 2 episodes left, so I was watching. I'm like, okay, yeah, okay. And then the ending came, and I went, "Are you kidding me?" It was just the thing where I'd grown kind of to like the characters and understand the characters and their backstories, and this kind of threw a monkey wrench in what I knew,
Okay.
and it just ends. And I went, "You punks! Now I have to watch the next
why they
episode
do it.
because you got to answer for that."
Yes, and
So-
they like to do that at the end of seasons. And what's fun? Well, it definitely wasn't fun when I was watching it as it aired because we had to wait, the full 3 to 4 months for the
Yeah.
summer.
The
But
worst.
Yes, definitely the worst. Something would happen and the season would end, and you're just like, "Are you kidding me?" And then it will say "to be continued," and then ... and then it will literally say on the screen, "Come on, you knew that was coming." Like,
nice.
that is
That's
just
great.
hilarious, knife in the chest and twisted. But I mean, I think it's really fun writing, fun characters. So
Okay.
I do enjoy it.
Okay, so seeing as you're a super fan of this show, I'd like you to tell us, preach to us, why we should watch this
And the
show.
listener.
Yes, well, definitely the listener, because Joel, I think you're already in. I want to watch more. Zach, I don't know about you. I mean, I think you need to do it just so you can study up on these names.
I need to figure out the names.
Yeah.
While watching, you probably could.
Yeah.
And how to pronounce them.
I mean, oh, that's what it was.
One thing I learned, by
Yes.
the way, in this series, something, a practical thing I picked up. Gift in German means poison.
What?
Oh, that's right. It does.
What the heck?
Yeah.
How did that happen? We are based
weird.
on a Germanic language in our language, and we use gift as a present when it means poison in German.
You
So-
brought us food gifts tonight.
Oh my goodness, I did.
Yeah, what is there blood in these Kit Kats?
Not as far as I know.
There probably is. Let's be honest.
All right, but let's get
Okay,
the floor
but
to
yeah.
Jessica.
So tell us about why you love the show, and even if you need to do like list format or whatever, but why you love it and why people should watch this.
I am a fan of, well, not all procedural, procedural cop shows, but I like the uniqueness of it. It has the humor, it has action, it has attractive people. Nick is very cute. That definitely helps. But I like that it was just...
Guy's got a jawline that just won't stop.
Yeah, it is true. It is true. But I
Just
liked
take it easy.
I liked that it was unique.
Okay.
Unlike what Joel says with Supernatural, which it is, pretty similar to that. But I liked the twist on it.
The problem was I've been watching a lot of Supernatural because I want to beat Jacob in finishing the series.
So I can understand the similarities.
But then I jumped over to this one, and it really was like, I thought to myself, I'm going to get episodes confused. Like, I'm going to think the bat creatures are in Supernatural. Anyway.
Yeah. I just liked that it had a unique take. So everyone knows what, Grimm's fairy tales are. They're not the Disney version. They definitely end different. So I like that it had the scary aspect to it. I like the characters. I thought they were interesting and well written. I like that Nick is very capable. And his friends, they're very likable characters. And I do like that. Yes, it is pretty dark and pretty serious, but there is humor and levity as well. And those little moments are quite good, and not like what Kent doesn't like with Marvel. Not everyone is, the comic relief. Not everyone's a comic.
Yeah.
They stay in their lane.
Yeah, pretty much. But I mean, everyone does kind of have their own sense of humor. And I do like that there are, moments of levity, like I said, with a character eating his carpet. And it's actually a pretty funny part. So
Right.
Although I felt bad for him.
Very much so. Very much so. But they took care of it.
So it sounds like it balances the tone pretty well.
Yes.
Of kind of scary,
Yes.
dramatic, like it's a mystery as well, but with comedy.
Yep, exactly.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And I like, this is just one of those little things, but I like how I don't know if they do this the whole series, but every episode just starts with a quote from the Grimm fairy tale that
does.
somewhat relates to the story.
It does, yeah.
And sometimes they're pretty gruesome story, quote, not like graphic, but just like there's one where it talked about this guy who took off his skin and threw it in a fire, and he finally felt normal again, or something like that. Like it was weird, and I just kind of went, well, that's an intriguing quote. I wonder what that means for this episode. And it kind of each episode pulls you in like that.
Right.
It does, yeah.
So there we go. Jessica, that is your testimonial of Grimm.
Yep.
And we want to know, listener, if you have been swayed, if you've already been a fan of Grimm, let us know. If you had never heard of it before, we want to know if this episode piqued your interest. And if you're, going to decide to watch it. Let us know on Facebook, let us know on Instagram, let us know on Twitter if you learned something today. If nothing more than gift means poison. So, Jessica, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or anything you want to plug here at the end of the show?
Just to my friends and family who I'm going to make listen to this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can be found on Instagram at JessicaTerry111, where I rarely post, or on Twitter at JTSoccer22, where I never post. But the last thing I did share was the song that Joel created for me. For my Patreon
Oh, that's so
song.
sweet.
It's my favorite.
So, yeah, you can check her out there. And hopefully you'll be sharing this show through those channels as well.
I will.
And, Zach, I think you got something to say now in German.
But before we go, we would like to thank some patrons, including from the I Am the Listener category, Adam and Rachel Crump, Alicia Bass, Allison Gall, Babs, Braden Winterton, Chris Strout, Chloe Clendaniel, Jennifer Kokowski, Just Plain Old Kyler, Lady Terry A. Finley, Plot Twist Media, and Sean Sandquist. And then from our Bacon Council, we have Her Royal Highness Jessica Terry, hey, Chris Anderson, Motts, Nicole D. Kale, a sad Vegas Golden Knights fan, but still a fan. Mm-hmm. Our favorite couple, the Madsons, Ryan and Marley Farron, Stephen Ross, The Shadow, and Reverse Listener.
Dankeschön, patrons.
Yeah.
Danke.
Thank you, patrons. Thank you, Jessica. We really appreciate it.
Yes, we
course.
really do. But if you want to find me, you can find me at 76Joel on Twitter. You can find me performing with Quick Say Perform every Saturday night at the Mid-Belt Performing Arts Center. For more details, go to qwcomedy.com or go to the Quickfoot Facebook page.
You can find me at Twitter and Instagram at Kenny3DD. If you want to read my movie reviews at ShowtimeShowdown.com.
If you'd like to connect with me, you can do so on Twitter and Instagram at Tumbling Mustard. But more importantly, make sure you follow Baconsale on social media. Go ahead and like that Facebook page and follow on Instagram and Twitter at Baconsale.
We do fun things there.
Sometimes. There are fun quotes being shared in stories all the time. Good job, Joel.
I've learned to appreciate stories because of Baconsale.
You're very good
Nice.
at it. Thank you. And then while you're doing that, stop by tpublic.com/Baconsale and get yourself some merch. Please become a billboard of Baconsale. Get yourself a t-shirt. And then if you like what's going on here, you can stop by patreon.com/Baconsale, where a bunch of stuff is happening over there. And you can support the show while taking part. We're going to have basically weekly episodes most of the time where we talk about everything from trailers to just randomly arguing about stuff to just, life updates.
Yeah.
And then there's also behind the bacon content over there. A bunch of fun stuff. Patreon.com/Baconsale. So until next time, make sure you vogue with a You told me I knew how to read okay.
Voice, highest voice in the room. I'll give her that as well.
Sure.
Are you hiding from us?
Coffee was bad.
Here.
Oh, yeah. Spicy. This tastes like a candle.
Nakedness.
No!
Flaky.
Don't try and guess. That makes it worse. Ooh, lightning.
Don't come down here. No.
Sorry, I still have Oreos on my brain.
Is there a difference? CW abs are like tier 1. How old does it make me considering that I love Heath bars?
When's the last time you had a big hunk?
I am
Charleston Chew.
I think I cut your hair earlier today.
Thanks, babe.
Thank you, Joel, for looking that up.
You're welcome.
I don't know what these are.
Harry Potter and the Club in the Sack.
Brilliant.
Yes,
No
you
one can
are.
see Vogue hand.
Worst hair, Brandon Routh. Way to go,
This-
Stephanie Meyer.
Yeah.
If I don't see it, we're fine. But if it's around me, I'll scream and then kill it.
Oh, you
Ants.
can make Vogue jokes, but we can't.
I was reserving that one for when the time was right, Zach.
It's Wesen on Wesen violence sometimes.
Blutbad. Volterseelen. Fusch so voll wild. Volk. Gedachtsesser. Gelumcaedus. Genio Inocuo. Gluenvolk. Heftigaurausch. Hantalami Mujini. Hakenkopf. Königschlang.
Don't make her repeat it. It's going to sound different.
Laissant picture.
Didn't you say your first grade teacher taught you how to read okay?
Blitz true. Scharfbeck. Ginnemaru Giuntoli. Ungeizifer Griffer. Wettbewerbsgewinner. Hasenfuischen Schneck.